Now, this is kind of interesting here. TheVerge.com has a little article. Bodies in seats at Facebook's worst performing content moderation site in North America. One contractor has died, and others say they fear for their lives. What? At Facebook's content moderation site? Location? Are we talking about a Chinese sweatshop or someplace in America? While Mark Zuckerberg's looking to buy out half of Hawaii to place his big mansion on. Content warning. This story contains descriptions of violent acts against people and animals, accounts of sexual harassment and post-traumatic stress disorder, and other potentially disturbing content. Keith Utley loved to help. First, he served in the Coast Guard, where he rose to the rank of lieutenant commander. He married, had a family, and devoted himself utterly to his 2 little girls. After he got out of the military, he worked as a moderator for Facebook, where he purged the social network of the worst stuff that its users post on a daily basis. The hate speech, the murders, the child porn. Utley worked the overnight shift at a Facebook content moderation site in Tampa, Florida, my backyard. Operated by a professional services vendor named Cognizant. The 800 or so workers there faced relentless pressure from their bosses to better enforce the social network's community standards. 800 people. This is one location. They have other locations. 800 people dealing with content. Can you imagine? The 800 or so workers there faced relentless pressure from their bosses. Hold on. I'm under pressure. Coming down on me. Coming down on me. People on the streets. Anyways. Relentless pressure from their bosses to better enforce the social network's community standards, which receive near daily updates that leave its contractors' workforce in a perpetual state of uncertainty. The Tampa site has routinely failed to meet the 98% accuracy target set by Facebook. In fact, with a score that has been hovering around 92, it is Facebook's worst performing site in North America. The stress of the job weighed on Utley, according to his former co-workers, who, like all Facebook contractors at the Tampa site, must sign a 14-page non-disclosure agreement. Quote, the stress they put on him. It's unworldly, one of Utley's managers told me. I did a lot of coaching. I spent some time talking with him about things he was having issues seeing, and he was always worried about getting fired. On the night of March 9th, 2018, Utley slumped over at his desk. Co-workers noticed that he was in distress when he began sliding out of his chair. 2 of them began to perform CPR, but no defibrillator was available in the building. A manager called for an ambulance. The Cognizant site in Tampa is set back from the main road in an office park. In between the dim nighttime lighting and discreet exterior signage, the ambulance appears to have had trouble finding the building. Paramedics arrived 13 minutes after the first call, one worker told me, and when they did, Utley had already begun to turn blue. Paramedics raced him to a hospital. At Cognizant, some employees were distraught. One person told me he passed by one of the site's designated tranquility rooms and found one of his co-workers, a part-time preacher, praying loudly in tongues. Others ignored the commotion entirely and continued to moderate Facebook posts as the paramedics worked. Utley was pronounced dead a short while later at the hospital, the victim of a heart attack. Further information about his health history or the circumstances of his death could not be learned. He left behind a wife, Joni, and 2 young daughters. He was about what I'm about to be, 42 years old. Heart attack? Stress? On Monday morning, workers on the day shift were informed that there had been an incident, and they began collecting money to buy a card and send flowers. But some site leaders did not initially tell workers that Utley had died, and instructed managers not to discuss his death, current and former employees told me. Everyone at the leadership was telling people he was fine. Oh, he'll be okay. One coworker recalled. They wanted to play it down. I think they were worried about people quitting with the emotional impact it would have. But the illusion shattered later that day when Utley's father, Ralph, came to the site to gather his belongings. He walked into the building and, according to a coworker I spoke to, said, "My son died here." In February, I wrote about the secret lives of Facebook contractors in America. Since 2016, when the company came under heavy criticism for failing to prevent various abuses of its platform, Facebook has expanded its workforce of people working on safety and security around the world to 30,000 people. Not 800 at Tampa, 30,000. Hey, I guess it's not easy being Zuckerberg. About half of these or those are content moderators, just like those other people. And the vast majority are contractors hired through a handful of large professional services firms. In 2017, Facebook began opening content moderation sites in American cities, including Phoenix, Austin, and Tampa. The goal was to improve the accuracy of moderation decisions by entrusting them to people more familiar with American culture and slang. Cognizant received a 2-year, $200 million contract from Facebook to do the work. Okay, let me just do a little math. I, got to do this. 200 million divided by 800 employees is $250,000 a year per employee. Now I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, there's not a chance in hell that company, Cognizant, is paying even $200,000 a year per those 800 employees. Because that would be $50,000 extra times 800 people that the company could have in profit or, management, whatever. So more than likely, there's a few very, very high paid people at this company. And the rest of you $10, $12 an hour workers, get back to work before I give you a beating. Oh, I spoke too soon, guys. The numbers are right here. They're right here. But in return for policing the boundaries of free expression on one of the internet's largest platforms, individual contractors in North America make as little as $28,800 a year. And I'm over here telling you they're getting paid $250,000 if they divided that money equally to all employees, which they can't. You got to have a business, company, electric bill, office space. I know, I understand. But you need 800 people, and you got $200 million in a contract from Facebook. That's a big money coming in. You and I, my friends, are in the wrong business. They receive 2 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch each day, along with 9 minutes per day of wellness time that they can use when they feel overwhelmed by the emotional toll of the job. After regular exposure to graphic violence and child exploitation, which I can understand, many workers are subsequently diagnosed with PTSD and related conditions. There's a bit more to this. Let's see. Conditions at the Phoenix site have not improved significantly since I visited. Last week, some employees were sent home after an infestation of bed bugs was discovered in the office. Second time bed bugs have been found there this year. Employees who contacted me worried that the infestation would spread to their own homes and said managers told them Cognizant would not pay to clean their homes. Okay, so hold on. Still Cognizant. So that means 800 employees in Tampa, a certain number in Arizona, Phoenix, and another one. So still, how many employees are we talking? 2,000? 800 plus 800, 1,600. We'll just say there's 800 at 4, it's 2,400. $200 million divided by 2,400 people. And the salary comes down. $83,000 a year now. But again, they're only paying $28,000 to $30,000 per person. Leaving a whole bunch per person to whatever. Fees, management, whatever. I just, I had to do the math. I just have to know. Bed bugs can be found virtually every place people tend to gather, including the workplace, blah, blah, blah. Facebook executives have maintained that the working conditions described to me by dozens of contractors do not accurately reflect the daily lives of the majority of its workers. But after publishing my story about Phoenix, I received dozens of messages from other contractors around the world, many of whom reported having similar experiences. The largest single group of messages I received came from current and former Facebook contractors out of Tampa. Many of them have worked closely with employees at the Phoenix site and believe working conditions in Florida are even more grim. In May, I traveled to Florida to meet with these Facebook contractors. This article is based on interviews with 12 current and former moderators and managers at the Tampa site. In most cases, I agreed to use pseudonyms to protect the employees from potential retaliation from Facebook and Cognizant. But for the first time, 3 former moderators for Facebook in North America agreed to break their non-disclosure agreements and discuss working conditions at the site and on record. And it goes on. This actually article continues on down. Anyways, I'll post this because this is quite long. I'm not going to read this whole thing. This thing keeps on going. Yeah, this is crazy. Well, one employee threatened to shoot up the building and a group chat was placed on paid leave and allowed to return. Wow. I think I'm done talking about this one anyways, but people over here slaving for nothing, having to deal with the stuff that they see, child abuse, child porn, all that stuff on Facebook getting constantly scrubbed on a continual basis. It can't be done automatically. You have to have humans. That's why they have 800 over here, 800 over there, 1,000 over there, 30,000 across the planet, just to keep up with the amount of usage on Facebook. So imagine seeing some of the disturbing things you might see. Oh, I've got 2 little girls. And someone just uploaded a video or a picture of, oh my God, this is making me sick to my stomach, kind of a thing. And I have 2 little girls, and every time I see that, I think of my 2 little girls who could do that, you know. But I need a job. I got to make money. What do I do? Oh. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We're overdue. This planet and humanity, we're overdue. Wait, before you go, Joe, overdue for what? Cataclysmic event. Start over. Those survival of the fittest. Let's start over. Take care.